G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
How are you, bud?
Well, it is that time of the week, except that time of the week is never the same, so it's really difficult to sort of judge everything. I thought I'd go for a drive today. I'm in San Francisco, for those who don't know, doing some work. And I left where I was staying. I thought I'd stay somewhere else and didn't like where I got to, so I came back to where I was staying, and now I'm staying in the same place again.
The grass is never green at BP.
Oh, man, I don't know if anyone's driven in San Francisco, but it's a challenge.
It is
especially for us.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all good. It's all good.
Cool, man. All right, let's see what the other bloke's doing.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Oh, it's still crickets. It's still crickets. The love's gone. Bicey's disappeared on us.
I'm not quite sure how to sort of handle it. I mean, I just feel like he's just abandoned us.
Rejection.
Oh, who's that? Who's that? Some may say.
I love it. The first time a guest has come in early. I love it. That's what we want. Yeah, no, he's still
rejection.
I think
you reckon it's rejection?
We had Bicey locked in, but it was 6 a.m. where he is, and then they got an early boat call at 6:30 a.m. So he had to bail on us. We built this whole thing around Bicey time, and it didn't happen. So it's all cool. He will be back. He's not gone away. He's just making lots of money.
He'll be back.
Yeah,
he'll be back. Yeah, he's making lots of money because he's going to put it in the Barkarati coffer.
All right. Shall we talk about grand final BP, or shall we bring in our guest? Okay, no,
bring in the guest.
All right, let's go into the guest. So what we want to do this week is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Is one, it's a continuation of the People's Panel. So this is a guest who's got a lot of knowledge, and I want to hear him talk about the Cup and all that sort of stuff. But also, there's something that we've done and we've neglected to do throughout the life of Barkarati, and one is that we've given a lot of coverage to major brands, but particularly sail brands. But I also want to always talk about independent sail-offs because they're the backbone of the industry. And for me, the relationship with this bloke has been really important for my sailing over many years.
They're becoming rare as hen teeth.
Rare as hen teeth, yeah. Let's just find out what life's like. But so the guest we've got today is a sailmaker. He's been doing it for 36 years, as far as I can work out. You'll have seen his sails all around the world, particularly if you sail in skiff classes or VXs or sports boats. A lot of top-line dinghies. You know, we did a full program with him on the 5.0s. Melgers, you'll probably see some there. But anyway, he's a good man. He's a good friend. He's been pretty close to us for all that time he's been a sailmaker. So welcome to the show, Mr. David Alexander. Dave, how are you, bro?
Good, thanks, Jordan. BP.
Bloody good to see you, mate. Bloody good to see you. As I said, I'm over here in San Francisco, and you mentioned you've been here a fair few times, so I might get some tips from you.
Yeah, well, watch out for those local bars. Trouble.
Well, it is Saturday night, but no, more importantly, it's a fantastic place here for sailing, and you've done a lot here.
Point Richmond Yacht Club is a great place for a feed. You should call in there. It's a good little club.
Yeah.
Love it. Dave, what's your favourite boat?
Oh, I have to say the 14.
You have to say 14. 14 skiff?
Yeah.
Well, of course he does.
Yeah.
14-foot skiff. Magical boat. Best boat I've ever sailed by a long shot.
Yep.
Yeah. They're, I think, discussed this with friends recently. Uphill these days, they're just dynamite. The gust response, the acceleration, and I jumped back in after a gap of 3 or 4 years after the Perth Worlds. Hadn't sailed one. Sailed with my old mate Noel Kinch for the first time in 20 odd years or whatever it was.
Yep.
And the first thing uphill, we're doing 11, 12 knots and just going incredible magic carpet ride. Just beautiful boats.
Love it. And doing it with Niall, that would have been a ton of fun. What a great man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good, great bloke. Done a fair bit of sailing with him over the years, from Sharpies to 18-foot skiffs and 14-foot skiffs.
Very cool. Very cool. So how about for you, just while we set a traditional setup question, how did you get into sailing, Dave?
Wasn't necessarily by my choice. It was my brother's passion. And I got dragged in as a holdfast trainer crew at 7 years old.
Right.
And of course, sailing with your brother, it kind of ended in tears.
Yep.
We didn't exactly get along. But I was a tiny little bloke, 3.5 stone or something at that age, and was popular holdie crew, and
Yes.
managed to get on with the talented Dion Buick from Kangaroo Island.
Okay.
And that was the introduction, and pretty quickly became hooked.
It's a holdie is it's a very South Australian boat. For those around the world wondering what the hell a holdfast trainer is, it's like probably the size of an Opti, maybe a fraction bigger, but it's got a little jib, and there's no cleat for that little 3.5 kilo crew to hang onto that jib with. So they just sit there hanging on and crying, I think, is basically the gist of it. But yeah, the little tiny trainer dinghy is basically what it is, 2-person.
Yeah. So I went from there to international cadets. Did those for a few years, then was lucky enough to do a Worlds in Spain in those at 15 or 16 years old, whatever I was, and that was an incredible experience.
Let's talk about that. Where were you for that? Because that for a 16-year-old or 15-year-old, where we said that's a huge thing to go and do.
Yeah, it was a place called Los Nitos. It was on the Mar Menor, just above Cartagena.
Lost down south of Valencia, Los Alcoceres.
Yeah, it's an inland sea, I think they call it, technically.
Yeah.
Incredible club out at the end of this jetty, guy at the gate with a machine gun and all that sort of carry on, and the Spanish were partying till 2 and 3 every morning.
Got to watch out for those international cadet kids.
Yes, they're dangerous.
You never know what might happen, eh?
Yeah, but it was a great adventure. Slept in tents on the dock for the regatta. That was pretty cool, a whole group of us.
That's very cool. Amazing experience. And that, how did you become a sailmaker, bud? Like, because hang on, I'll just want to clarify just before. So I think you're a Sacred Heart boy. You went to Sacred Heart.
Correct.
It's a private school in South Australia, Adelaide. I call it Sacred Heart Criminals because the little shits used to come and steal my combi after a big football game. It must have been a known that it was an easy car to steal. I'd always find it, but so I call them the Sacred Heart Criminals, but normally set up for corporate world. But what distracted you and took you into sailmaking?
Well, I was really a country kid at heart. I grew up on Kangaroo Island for part of my childhood.
Wow.
Father was a fisherman over there and was a boarder at Sacred Heart. I hated Sacred Heart.
So did I.
But only because I was away from the island, which was, KI, you ride a motorbike to school and park it in the back paddock, you go horse riding, sailing, adventure, taking the dog sailing, fishing, tinny. It was just freedom at its ultimate.
You should take a job as tourism director for KI, mate. You just sold it. That was awesome.
Oh, one of my best mates from school days over there, Craig Wickham, is exactly that. He is the tourism director for KI.
He still does the same thing. Rides to work on the motorbike, parks out the back paddock, takes the dog for a sail.
Love it.
Yeah.
That was good.
No. But sail making, it was actually the trip to Spain.
Yeah, I wondered.
I won't mention the brand of sails we used as a kid, but we got to the regatta and we had the Aussie version of this cadet sail, and the Europeans all had a different cut jib, which was a deck sweeper for the cadet.
Yep.
Much lower clew and sheeted differently, and they were all inboard sheeting, and we couldn't do that with our high clew cut jibs. And kind of got the shits with that we didn't have the latest that we thought we did. And came home, and my brother sailed a fireball at the time, and I chopped up one of his mainsails and made myself a jib.
Right.
And was just trial and error, pull it apart, stick it together, pull it apart, stick it together until I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
And then I think I went to Soz, who was running a loft at the time, and got them to sew it together for me because I didn't have a machine, and then used it, and it actually was pretty good.
Oh, Mark Salisbury used to run the Hood Loft, and now he's got a shade cloth company, but also champion sailor. So did he give you any criticism when it turned up, or he just said, yeah, no, I'll sail?
No, not really. He supported what I was doing and was very helpful.
Love it.
And then from there, I actually got a part-time gig with a local sailmaker here, Ray Brown, when I was still at school.
Jeez, you're pulling some names out.
Worked alongside Cliffo.
Love it.
Which was quite amusing, the pair of them in a loft together.
Yeah.
And then I went off and did other things. I was fishing with my father for a season off KI and on a lobster boat or crayfish. And actually did some work, clerical work with the government for a little while.
Right.
And but I was applying for jobs with sailmaking, and eventually Soz gave me a job in the Hood Loft down in Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And quit my little government job and gave it a whirl.
There you go. And ever since. I've got to say, some names you pulled out there, I've got to say, Ray Brown, if he's listening, he meant a lot to me. He's one of these blokes that always give young blokes a go. He was I found Ray to be a good guy, real good guy. So
yeah, he was excellent. And he made us a spinnaker for the cadet back then. He used to make these awesome spinnakers, nice high shoulders, lots of drive. And we had a brand new kite off him and went sailing one evening with a Tim Ross.
Yep.
And was a bit fresh, possibly shouldn't have been out there, but it was good fun. But we blew his new spinnaker up first day.
So Dave, you've had a lifetime of experience around boats. One of the great joys is that, sail making, you get to just go sailing a lot. You get to think about sailing a lot. I'm interested what your best experiences have been and what the worst experiences. Is it just me sitting in your loft being annoying all that time?
Oh, best experiences. Grant Geddes winning the
Worlds.
The 99 Worlds.
Yes. Cadbury.
Yeah, that was cool.
First big winners of class and
14 skiff.
14-foot skiff Worlds. Worked really closely with him. We had identical boats for the regatta and a lot of time on the water, a lot of time in the front lawn measuring.
Where were those Worlds, Dave, eh?
Sandringham, 130 boats.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was just fast. We developed a new rig.
Cadbury.
Yeah, Cadbury. Glass and a half. And
good old glass and a half. That's him. Yeah. No, he was a true talent. But so what you put together, you and him put together a fairly detailed sail testing program, and it just prevailed.
Yeah, well, 97 was San Fran Worlds, Point Richmond.
Yep.
And Grant came third with a different rig and my sails. And from
we were
there,
playing around with rigs a lot. I remember you were playing around with rigs a lot.
Yeah, we started building our own rigs through an oil manufacturer in Adelaide for a while. And the carbon rigs first came in the class. And then luckily ended up with a relationship with CST. Was their first 14-foot skiff customer, and CST's been great to work with.
Yep.
Been a good partnership of, no, I want a luff curve, I want a mast bend that looks like this, and here's a graph, and can you achieve this? And they do.
Yep.
So to get to model a mast to suit your sail and your design and your beliefs is invaluable.
For the listeners, we've been watching. Dave's got his phone balanced.
Slowly slip away.
Slowly.
Look, hey guys, listeners, and Jordan, and Dave. I was just about to type. It's falling off the chair.
The phone perched on the desk.
It was just hilarious. Anyway, continue, mate. Sorry, it was so funny to watch as it was happening.
Is that better?
No, it's not good. Yeah. So the CST relationship, the whole thing, it really was right at the edge of what was happening with sails, going to the square top rigs and that, how the mast does all the response and stuff like that. It's quite interesting.
It was a happening scene in 96, 97, 98, 99.
Yeah.
You must have been shitting yourself when I came on the scene with Snowdy.
Yeah, I was terrified.
My first.
I know how much trouble Snowdy is.
What's that?
I know how much trouble Snowdy is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to say, because I come from the windsurfing things, that was my first sort of dabble into sailing, and my first ever sail on a dinghy was on a 14-foot skiff.
Wow.
Yep. Out on wire with Snowdy. Go on, out you go. Off a Grange.
Wow.
I think you still got that boat hanging in your shed.
Oh, there was a beauty. Clown the Girl Guide mowers.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, no, that was probably the highlight.
Yeah.
Sail making.
Yeah.
Was a big result, and it's ended up being a great thing for selling sails, all over the world.
Yeah. You stayed at the front of that fleet, I mean, for so long, and we see your stuff. I see, a lot of your stuff pops up on the 18s, and I see it in the 14s. As, every time there's a picture somewhere around the world, I see your logo. And we were doing a lot of stuff with international canoes. You were giving a bit of love for a while. And I was watching a few international canoe videos, and there's a dude over in Europe, I think, has got a very similar logo to yours, Dave. And so I thought, hang on, Dave's into the international canoes here. This is great. I don't think it is you. No,
not these days. No.
Oh,
no. But
they're a cool boat, though. It'd be good to get involved.
Yeah, they're a very cool boat.
We had a good chat with them, didn't we?
What was that?
We had a good chat with them, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, one of the 14 guys just won that world. It's Glenn Troswell.
Yeah.
There you go.
And very talented guy, very talented sailor.
So one of the things that's evident about you, Dave, is that your brain's always trying to, you're a bit of a tinkerer. Like, you're thinking about making changes, doing a lot of different little things, whether it's sails or rigs or how you set up a boat. And, I was forever sitting next to you and asking, what do you think about doing this, or what do you think about doing that? And you'd have always really informed thought about it. When you watch the evolution of sailing over the years, as someone who thinks forward, has it taken you has sailing gone to a place where you've just gone, oh shit, I didn't even consider any of this?
I suppose the foiling boats, how they're dominating everything at the moment. Part of me wishes I was 30 years younger and keen to get into it myself.
We all do that.
But on the same token, I still enjoy the traditional boat. I mean, there's, over the years, there's been a lot of discussion about the 14 becoming foiling. And, but, whether I'm too conservative, I just think it'd be a bit of a death trap being on wire and foiling. I don't think it's a great combination.
I don't think it mixes, to be honest.
No. And the boat's fantastic how it is.
That being said, the 14 does run a little elevator wing on the rudder, and so you've got that sort of foil that's used on the rudder. And the way you guys use that, I remember when we were trying to pitch to the Almoca class, how they're sort of half foiling, where they got and they haven't gone to the rudder foil yet. And I remember trying to pitch to them that adding a rudder, an aerofoil on the rudder is actually about safety, because you could get the boat, you can make the boat a whole lot more controllable. Rather, it's not about just flying the boat, which is what the 14s do, like that changed the 14 once you've stuck that little foil on the rudder. They became, you couldn't two-sail a reach on a 14 for quite a while, was my memory.
You could, but there's a certain angle, that they just don't like. You're just too overpowered. Doesn't seem to be. When it's fresh, you sail a big V on a two-sail reach.
Yeah.
Oh, just remember going on a two-sail reach on those things, and it was just close your eyes and hold on. You just didn't know where you were.
Well, when the class went, was really big with the square top for a while. We got to sort of 1,200, 1,250 across the top, and then they became next to impossible to sail on a two-sail.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The head just starts to take over too much. You can't get enough twist in.
Yep.
And, the small square top's so much more versatile in that situation. It's not funny.
Dave, one of the foil thing, a thing of interest from my perspective, and I think BP will love this question. You're a mad sailboarder as well, you're forever sending photos of you out in the waves on your little sailboard. The evolution of sailboard rigs, like where we went from sort of just setting them up like a normal boat to running all this rig tension and really open flappy leeches, and it's good for downwind. Really, it's a reaching setup structure. Can you see any way that can cross over, that sort of rig could cross over into sailing at all?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, everybody's doing it to some extent now with Cunningham and overuse of the Cunningham to flatten the head of the mainsail and make the boat easier to sail and easier to reach.
Yep.
And, some of us, I don't think it's any secret, some of us change the panel layouts in the head and the orientation of the cloth to get the head of the sail to breathe more naturally, even though it might not be pretty, doesn't look the best, but it's effective in giving gush response and a little bit of freedom to the rig.
It's interesting because one idea I've sort of been sketching away on my little sketch pad is you build a sail with panels with a little bit of cloth, and they're not laid onto each other until you pull, you've got a bit of string, you pull them back into line for going upwind, and when you go offwind, it just steps out and opens, and you could actually, you let that little bit of string off, and the whole thing opens up, and you suddenly got this downwind weapon sort of thing. And
part of my crazy imagination once upon a time was similar to that, where you might have a series of 20 Dyneema lines running through the leech of the sail, and you have a control on it that you could tweak them and change the shape of the sail dramatically. But the logistics involved in it are just crazy.
We're sort of half doing that with the cup boats. You have the twin foil rigs or the twin membrane sails.
Well, particularly the Kiwis with independent sheeting.
Yeah.
I can't see any harm in that. It seems like a brilliant idea.
Yeah, interesting.
Maybe it's the secret behind their HIMO that they seem to pull out every now and again.
Interesting. We should. Are we going to revolve onto the cup then? Should we just continue with this?
Go for it.
I think we should. I mean, I think we've got a bit of a thinker here in Dave A. So let's open up the door, the chest of knowledge, and see what flies out.
Yeah. Okay. So,
other than the bats, of course.
Yeah. Well, they're circling.
So,
no, come on.
The first thing I'm going to say, I want to get it on the record, because when we started this cup cycle, the 37th cup, there's a lot of criticism on the social medias. Did get a few America's Cup teams writing to us and actually saying, "Can you tell them that we don't care? Like we're just here to sail our regatta. Like it's you think we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars just to try and make social media warriors happy. We're here to sail the best we can be, but it's actually turned into probably the best cup cycle of all. And I think, it's the Kiwis that are running this whole thing and put this program together. And much as it hurts me to say good job Kiwis, but they've done an awesome job. The program with the youth, and we're going to see the women's and the e-sailing and the whole build-up, like this last month of sailing, it's been unreal. So much fun.
Not good for the sleep.
Not good for the sleep. Not good for the exercise. Not good for the sleep. It's been unreal. It's been so good. Anything that stood out to you, Dave?
The rigs are all fascinating, and it's hard to pick differences between them on a screen that you're not seeing live. I'm sure you'd see a lot more if you're up close and personal with it. But I suppose the twin shedding for the Kiwis has fascinated me. I'd love to know, it'd be great to be a fly on the wall to know what they're actually doing in that respect. The Lunar Rossa gear, just how good it looks.
So good.
Whether that's a colour, the grey matte finish has an effect on it, and their boat, how good their boat looks personally.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing to see is when they make mistakes.
Yeah.
How brutal it is.
Yeah, and over trimming through a tack or trying to power up and overpowering the rudder stalling out, and that it's good to see these professionals making mistakes.
The big one that stood out for me on a couple of occasions is a standard lee bow.
Yep. I think we've got a frozen Brett. We'll let him come back in. Yep, go on. You just froze, BP. It's still frozen.
Yeah, we've lost him.
Yeah, I think he was saying standard lee bow. We'll let him reconnect.
Well, it's dangerous.
It's amazing.
It's so critical, the timing and the pace, and if you don't, I think it's just such a high risk manoeuvre in these boats.
I agree, because you've got the other thing is that element of acceleration. That element of acceleration once you come through that tack, so the boat that you're lee bowing has a lot more opportunity to come up off your hip, especially if they've just stuck the nose down for 5 seconds just to build a little bit of extra speed. And once they're on your hip, you can't. If they're off, in a way,
they must all be dropping bow for a cross to make sure they're max pace.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, I fell off the face of the planet there.
Yep. We interpreted your question and proceeded.
I'm sure you did. But I'd like to just add one more thing on top of what I sort of heard at the end there. It's actually, in my consideration, it's actually a mistake to attempt that manoeuvre. I think it just leaves you, as you said, Jay, it just leaves you almost open to an absolute smashing.
Mm.
So what they're doing now, instead of lee bowing, they're doing the cross and slam.
Yeah. But even so, it's proved to be dangerous as well.
Yes.
It's too close. It's too dangerous.
It's too
close.
Yeah.
Because as you said the other day, Jay, that 1 knot is potentially 5 degrees a point.
Okay. Well, let's highlight that. So you didn't see last night, BP. So we had.
No, I did not.
It was race 3 of the final, and it was very light and marginal. And it was an amazing race. It didn't get concluded. They ran out of time. But up until they came off the foils, it was a really intense race. And there was the British team was leading around the top mark for the second time and turned left. The Italian team turned right. Yeah, David's phone's going again. We're about to lose him.
Falling off the chair again.
And the Italians turned right into pressure. And so they were down probably 15, 16 seconds as they went around the mark, but they turned into pressure and jibed off that. And obviously it was marginal. So when the UK boat jibed back, they come out high. And so the Italians cross in front, right? And then, so they didn't cross in front. The UK jibed on top of them. And then they jibed into 1 knot more wind. You could see it on the TV. It said the UK had 1 knot more wind, 1 knot more of wind. And they were about 100, 120 metres back, and it just motored over the top of the Italians. It was really...
Acceleration and depth. It was probably 5 degrees deeper angle.
And 1 knot. It was insane.
Yeah. But you've also got the ability to choose what mode you want to do. You know, you can actually choose to stay high, or you can choose to go low. When you're trying to get up on the falls or trying to get to speed, you're stuck in a build, and that build can take forever. That's the problem. And forever in these boats is probably 10 seconds. That's kind of a good way of putting it.
One of the things that was also evident, because we had plenty of wind for the first 2 races, but the other thing that was really evident in last night's race, given it was so marginal, let's call it 5 to 10, there was gusts up to 10, most of it down to 5, was you watch them in the start, you watch them coming off the start, the whole strategy was not sailing, is to make sure they didn't sail through each other's dirty wind. That they were, every tack was about, how they sailed the boat was about having just enough speed to get through those tacks. There was so much consideration giving to trying to find clear air and sail the boat and stay on the foil. Whereas in the more wind for race 1 and 2, didn't even think about it. They were just attack. And it was really interesting how the psyche on the boats really was different.
Listening to the commentary, it's a 20-second speed build, when they're getting towards a boundary to tack.
Yep.
They need that 29, 30 knots to tack effectively without touching down.
Amazing. That's how I sail my boats too, Dave. I try to get to 29, 30 knots before I tack. That's what BP on his E-boat was doing the same. He's never tacked. He's just gone around the world on one tack. But anyway.
Still drifting, isn't it?
No, I'm waiting to tack.
Yeah. It's a crazy scenario where they're going at that sort of speed or needing to get to that speed. But we'll keep talking about the big boats. Those first 2 races in the final with good pressure. Geez, it was fun. Just such close racing. The thing that was really interesting is race 1, the Italians got away. They got the lead. And once they did get the lead, they got a downwind section where they could get away, and they accelerated and gapped. In the second race, the UK boat got the lead and stayed in the lead, but they never could gap away from the Italians. I suspect the Italians is just slightly faster downhill, but, it's close. It's so close.
Yeah, all the stats have got them as being slightly quicker, but they're sailing a greater distance to achieve it, though.
Yeah.
So I think the first race they actually sailed possibly about a K further, which is mind-boggling to think they sail a K further and win by, 800 metres or whatever it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it the old thing of sail fast to the shifts and get there as quick as possible, and old Fred McCrossan tactic.
Yeah. It's crazy. But I think there's that element of still trying to be in clean air. I do think that the British combination has really started to click, where they finally decided to go with Dylan and Ben. And that was really evident in race 2 of the final, leg 2. There was a conversation between Ben and Dylan where Ben's gone to Dylan, what do we do? And Dylan's just gone, we need to cover here. And Ben's just gone, okay. It was complete trust in the way they spoke, you'd think that I've always sort of had the view that people that sail with Ben sort of bend to Ben a little bit, but Dylan, he seems to be talking to Dylan on a really equal level. It came across that they really are connecting. I mean, the Italian combination's tight. It's tight. They're fantastic,
Which brings to the other point, Jay, of American Magic with the changeover. It must have been hard. It must have been really hard, and that's no disrespect to the people on board. It's just that it must have been really difficult to lock in, to get that sort of flow.
Yeah, they haven't spent the time on the water together like the other teams have, and you don't get the connection straight away.
Yeah. And it seems to be everything. And then also making that decision, because you only get to make only get to make proper tactical decisions on half the race, because you've got your head, you're not in charge. It's a really different scenario that we're getting to watch.
Or do you? Because you've got two helmsmen on either side of the boat. Yeah. One's looking up the track at the pressure, and the other one's looking at the competition.
Yeah.
Hopefully, to leeward. And that visibility of what each can see, and they have to communicate. They need to work as a team to understand where the next pressure is, but also how to cover the competition.
I just got this vision of like one wanting to be in the left and one wanting to be in the right, and they just keep going from one side to the other.
Well, there's one thing that strikes me about the Prada boat is their little windshield, the clear windshield.
Yep. Yeah,
and they must have better visibility of what's going on around them, because like looking from the outside in from the camera, you can see the side of the head of the guy sitting to leeward or to windward on the shots, whereas the other guys are almost invisible.
Yep.
So surely they haven't got as good a vision out of the boat.
Yep. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because that clear screen is down from chest level up, whereas in the other boats, it's kind of like as your camera starts to slide off, you've only got just a few.
Like eye line.
Only just got eye line. Yeah.
Are you racing an AC boat right now, mate?
Yeah. It's a bit rough. Getting thrown around.
Yeah. One thing we're not really picking up on with the coverage and seeing, but I think Glenn particularly is giving us a lot of insight into it, is that whole what the trimmers are doing. We're not seeing the trimmers action as much. We're only picking up elements because they're focusing in on the skippers. We see a bit of the cyclors, but
I'm on that.
Without Glenn talking about cant and how they're setting up the rig and how they're positioning the heel of the boat, and I'll come in with too much heel, or we're not really understanding the trimmer's role as much. I don't know if you agree with that at all.
I do.
It's hard to see it, but his insights are amazing. His knowledge of the boats and the class and the rigs is just phenomenal, just incredible.
Yeah.
I'm still staggered by the rapid traveller movement on the main.
Yeah.
And how much action it gets, and how often they bring it to weather.
Yeah.
And how much depth they dump into the bottom of that mainsail for power when they need it.
It's like when you overshoot on a windsurfer sometimes, when you just get caught out by a lull sort of thing.
Yeah. It's not a handbrake.
Yeah, it's a massive handbrake.
Yeah.
So in the race last night, there was I think the Italians, I'm trying to remember now, they went into, was it a job? Yeah, I think it was a job, and they
spun out the rudder.
Yeah, because they overshooted the main through that manoeuvre. Yeah. And I didn't pick that up. If Glenn hadn't explained it to me, I wouldn't have had a clue.
Well, I just noticed it because the helmsman got up and was kicking his back foot trying to get the rudder to re-grab you. So.
Yeah, but
for those who win, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lift the back foot up and drag it towards you.
Yeah, that's it. That one too. That's a good one.
Yeah. All the windsurfing cavitation jokes going on right now. Refixes. Yep.
Well, speaking of cavitation, Ashby's explanation of them going downhill at 48 knots and
it was a good one.
Staying under the 50 because it becomes too critical with the stall and the cavitation of the foils.
Yeah.
And the closing comment, it's just physics.
It's just physics.
It's just physics.
The other thing I reckon that's going on that I'm struggling with, one, I think the sailors are just doing an amazing job. Like the level of sailing. We saw the youth sailing and the mistakes that they made comparative. Like we're just seeing such an elite level of sailing on the big boats. not criticism to the youth sailors at all, but
we'll talk about that more in a minute.
Yeah, we'll come on to that because it was so good. I've completely forgot what I was going to say. I was just got distracted by. Hey,
level of sailing.
Yeah, I was talking about the level of sailing, but there was a purpose. I think. Oh yeah, that's it. The decision profile of do we keep going or do we cover? You know, like that balance and how important that is, like heading out to cover. You know, for me, the penalty of just trying to slap a tight cover on a boat, it's a high-risk manoeuvre, as I think you both highlighted. But now, and there's a lot of gains just to be able to sail your race because you find that extra knot or two of pressure in a gust and you gain so much. And so I'm really...
The split.
Hey?
The risk of the split is so high as well.
Yeah, that's so. What do you do?
Such a shifty racetrack, and you see them opposite sides of the course on each boundary.
Yeah,
someone's going to win, someone's going to lose.
Yeah.
You know,
but you know, like you got to do the maths. You know, that's one of the okay, this is the risk that we're taking. If we just continue on, let them go away. Are we certain we've got more pressure? What's the distance we're going to lose? You know, that whole analysis of taking that risk on board or not taking that risk on board, you know, and then the risk of doing the tack on top. You know, what if you come off the foils? It's just there's so much going on through their minds at 40 knots. You know, there's so much analysis they're trying to do in such a short time. It's really cool.
Would be great if if you've got any contacts and you can get the say someone like Ashby to do a tour of the cockpit of one of these things and what the actual instrumentation available to them and the software is doing for them. It'd be fascinating to know what's going on there.
Yeah, yep. Yeah.
You know, have they got a screen with lines on it? And
I think they do.
Angles and
Yeah. I haven't been close to the cut boat, so I can't say, but the way I'm watching them look at things inside the boat and having, you know, I've got very thorough knowledge of what's inside a Sail GP boat. It looks like they're seeing a lot. I'm wondering even if they're seeing those wind overlays.
Is it a predictive software system?
Yeah. I reckon they're seeing a lot more than we think. But it's been great racing, far better, higher level racing than the last Cup, you know, in these boats. They're a much better boat. You know, they took some of the weight out of the boat. They took a lot of the controls out of the top of the sail set out. So you can't play the strings as much, but the boats are lighter. The thing I said to you, Dave, before the discussion, I don't think the cyclaws or the power having humans pumping adds anything to the experience. I'd be happy if they just went out fully powered boats and we didn't have to worry about that element and we could use the crew.
Well, it doesn't to the viewer, that's for sure.
No.
But, you know, is it about the viewer? You know, it's about the technology and, you know, is it developing systems with hydraulics that can be human powered that are superior hydraulics to what they would if they just had unlimited battery power? You know, is that a benefit? But yeah, I don't think it adds anything to the actual competition. I mean, the little boats prove that.
Like a human performance element, you know, to adds that to it. That's all there is to it, I think.
It's the athletic.
The human torture
yeah, it does look like that. It's the athletic component, but it does look like a bit of a torture system going on. But maybe we should just put them out on the middle of the boat. They've got to be outstanding in the middle of the boat and being whipped, so we can actually see exactly what, you know, really is what they're going through. So
in 50 knots of breeze, a current going over the deck.
The faster they pedal, it gets like a little wheel that holds them in place. The slower they pedal, they start sliding down the back of the deck. They're off the back of the boat. That would be cool.
Yeah.
It would be pretty noisy.
Oh yeah,
a lot going on.
See some good stacks.
Speaking of stacks, let's switch on to the Youth America's Cup. Did we enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it.
Awesome.
It was
awesome.
I loved it. No, I'm not going to say. I'm not. I'm going to sit here and say that I love the America's Cup. You know, the actual big boats. And yeah, okay, it's all good and well, but the excitement factor to the youth sailing was just huge. You know, you're on your.
I'm a bit surprised it's not a mixed sex youth program where you've got 2 male, 2 female. You know, they talk about the inclusion, but they're running 2 separate events. Why not put them together?
Yeah, that's been raised. Interesting, but it's the fact that there's a women's event as a standalone. I think they're trying to get to that stage. So I reckon in another cup or two, that'll be exactly that. There'll be no separate women's event. It'll just be all combined. You've got to have an equal number of sailors, and I think that that's the process that they've gone through. I don't know, but that's what I think's happened.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome to see.
Yep. The little boats, much more lively. We saw plenty of wind. We saw plenty of mistakes. The Italian team was a class above. In the end, the results turned out that all the team-based youth teams that were part of one of the competing teams, they finished first, second, third. So the access to having a boat just over a simulator, and then fourth was the Swedish team, which had access to a boat. So access to a boat was everything. It was still good, close racing. You saw the Aussies win one of the races, even though they didn't have a boat, and then they got last in the last race. But so in that semi-finals, but it ended up being the boats. Having access to the boats made a hell of a difference because, in those first 2 races or whatever, when it was really rough, holy shit, the number of crashes, some of the best crashes you've ever seen.
Well, that Aussie crash with the bow.
Yeah, when he lost.
I mean, are they wearing a harness to stop them getting whiplash?
Well, I mean, you could just, when he lost his goggles and he couldn't put them back on because the lens had got popped out, so he had to have, do the rest of the having another wipe out with no goggles on.
They need a Hans device like the racing drivers have.
Yeah. Hans device, that's it, yeah.
With an ejector button when it goes wrong.
It was just so interesting, wasn't it? Like the fact that there was a lot of fleet racing, so leading into the actual final, which was just one race, I thought that was a bit sucky, just having one race to decide the overall winner. That
should have been best of 3, sure.
Oh, for sure.
I would have liked that.
Well, I think we all would have liked that. But that being said, the Italians looked the best the whole way through. They've actually, I just went back through some results. Italy are on fire at the moment. Their boat in the Louis Vuitton looks amazing. The way their team, their team sailed in that Youth Cup was amazing. You go back and look at the Youth Worlds that we've just had. Italian was the top team. So the Italians, they're on fire at the moment. They're sailing well.
Yeah.
Let's just say, looking forward, if the Italians get through this level and compete against New Zealand and New Zealand prevail, let's just say that scenario, you've got to think that the next edition is going to be a lot harder for New Zealand if they win, because the Italians are just going to have more and more. These young kids, they're going to be ready and ripe in 4 years' time.
Well, you can clearly, I think you'll expect Marco Gradoni, he'll step into Jimmy's role, I would think. I think that's definitely going to be on the cards. Jimmy's obviously a really cool head. It's hard to say that as a ginger, being a cool head on the boat, but he seems to stay pretty cool. But, that guy's...
I think they've got some sort of new Ginga software out that actually sort of... What it does is it picks up when he's starting to lose it, and it sort of vibrates on his helmet, and it reminds him that he's on live TV.
Yeah. A little bit of electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
like a dog getting too far away from you. Oh, God damn.
Well, the other thing I take from the AC40 event is that they were a lot more active, so there was a lot more chance of crashing. Obviously, even in when the ocean smoothed out and they had the smoother water for the later on, they still were amazing. And I can see we get to a situation maybe that if they continue after the next cup, because I think the next cup has to be in these boats. It's part of the agreement. But then the subsequent cup be very, a lot of our listeners have sent us notes saying they'd like to see a sort of 50-foot version. And I could see that being the new size. Like bring the size down a bit, make it a little bit cheaper, more teams. It could be the
ability. More manoeuvrable.
More manoeuvrable.
More manoeuvrable, less susceptible to the other boats, flows and
some agility.
Able to engage would be the way forward.
Yeah. All right. So that was a big win, the youth, except for Dave's idea with the equal split. I think they're working towards that. I think that's the future that we will see. Did anybody watch the E-Series final?
No.
Negative.
Negatory. Okay. It happened last night, 5 races. The way the scoring system worked is that the first race winning, you got less points than winning the second race, so you got less points than winning the third race, so as the racing went on, the later races carried more and more weight. It was pretty tight, but there was a young New Zealand 14-year-old kid sailed brilliantly. He was really, really good, and he won. So,
wow.
Yeah, €25,000, and he gets to go and sail one of the AC40s.
There you go.
Going into the last race, it was him, another Kiwi, and our mate Rocky was right there. They were only a couple of points apart, and then Rocky forgot about his bloody reverse curse opportunity. He made a mistake. Yeah. He got a boat tacked on him heading out to the left boundary, and he stayed there. And then once that boat tacked off, he kept going and hit the boundary and came back and it overstood the ley line, and that was the end of him. He was right there in play. He should have tacked out earlier, but once he was on that boundary, he was stuffed. So he missed it. But yeah, the young kid, the E-Sailing Central kid, no idea what his name is, he was really smart. He sailed really well. He got a penalty. He was over the line early in the last race.
And is he a young Kiwi yachty, or is he?
Yeah, he definitely was sailing.
Gamer.
He was combination of both. He obviously sailed. Like his tactics were pretty good. He wasn't making mistakes. So he had a really smart, switched on head. I thought. Either he'd played the game a billion times, which I suspect could be it. And, he's going, okay, in this situation, I'll do that. But there's definitely elements of real sailing that you could pick up from doing that game over and over again, is all I'll say.
Have any of you tried it?
No.
Yeah, well, no. But sort of being next to a simulator, and it looks like fun.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, we sold the
who owns the Aussie simulator?
There's a couple in Australia. Yeah, one is owned by... Andu. Yep. Let's say Andu for the benefit of that.
Shits and giggles.
Yep, shits and giggles. And the other one is McConaughey own it, I reckon.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're both in Sydney?
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe one was up at RPA at one stage.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's still there. That's Royal Prince Alfred, but I don't know if it's still there or not.
Yeah. So, yeah, but, I mean, good fun, good setup. But, yeah, if you get a chance, like from talking to Rocky, it sounds like you can actually sail the boats a lot. Like you learn a lot from sailing the simulator. So it's worth the effort of jumping on there and having a bit of a go. Okay. The only thing we've got left now is 2 questions. Who's going to win the Louis Vuitton final?
Depends on wind strength, doesn't it? The boats are so finely tuned to different wind strengths.
Yeah.
I think if it's the moderate stuff, it's the Prada, and fresh, I'd say the Brits. And maybe if it's super light, the Brits.
Oh,
Surprising.
I like that, Dave. Yeah. Yeah. BP?
Yeah, well, just on form, I'm gonna sit with the Italians. I mean, form is, you look at Ineos winning the lead up to it. There's a couple of unlucky things in apostrophes that happened to Luna Rossa that could have changed the entire outcome of this event. If they did win, then it would have been, as we said earlier, Ineos versus American Magic, no doubt, which would have changed the whole thing again. But I just think that they're just a tighter package.
Okay.
Yeah, they're polished.
Going forward?
Nothing negative to Ineos. If they're saying they've definitely are sailing a cracking event.
I'm really impressed with how the British team's sailing. Really, really impressed. I think they're doing an amazing job. Everyone in that team's really just gone, oh, okay, we need to improve, and they have. Boom.
Yep.
I think we all write them off to start with.
Yep.
And their improvement's been through the roof. They really have turned it on.
Absolutely. I really like the tactics that they used at the start their light wind tactics for the start of race 3. We saw, which didn't finish, but the way they started and where they positioned their boat, it was exactly right. I thought they did a great job. Okay, so then the last question becomes, who wins the cup?
Go on, Dave.
Oh, I reckon the Kiwis.
Yeah.
I think they've got some more pace up their sleeve, and even though they're not getting the racing practice, I'm sure they're focusing on the tactics and coaching and all that sort of thing, and studying their opponents and what their habits are, and being able to just tweak the boat, possibly an advantage. Yeah.
PP?
I'm sticking with. The actual cup. Well, the answer's always in the defender, isn't it? They're always a little bit of a step up. But I'm going to say that Italians are going to really, really hand it to them if they get through. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Italians get up.
Okay. So the thing I took from
Jordan?
that. Yeah, no, I'm probably in Camp Kiwi at this stage. The thing I took from that is that how long and how difficult it was for you guys to give me an answer, and that tells me how close the whole thing is. Like
It's super close,
and that makes it even better for us. Like the ability for us to be able to not say who the winner is just means it's just going to be even better viewing going forward. The one thing I do want to add to the thought process is, if the Kiwis don't win, that's probably the end of the New Zealand America's Cup team, because they don't have a big, rich backer, right? Without having the money from Barcelona and without some of the key sponsors they've got, and they've got no big, rich backer, and it's a good thing for the Cup. Like the fact that a team can get up and survive on sponsorship, which they've done, is great. That was what going from J boats to 12 metres was about, that, with the Cup, to try and make it less about billionaires and more about more teams can come in. If the Kiwis don't win, that could be the end of the Kiwis, because I don't think any of the government backing will stay with them. But then the next element will be, I think we need to get smaller boats so we get more teams in. I'd love to see more teams in. And that's
50 foot probably reduce the cost fairly dramatically of the actual boat itself.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't make a great deal of difference to the cost of running a team.
No.
But, whether that would open more doors by bringing more teams in would be good to see.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. So yeah, we'll see. But it's been good. We're all fans.
Mm.
Cool.
Yeah, no, brilliant event.
Righto. Okay, so we're going to keep Dave on a bit longer. No bice, he's abandoned us, so we can just blow him off, and we'll just keep Dave A on, and because Dave's got some really interesting thoughts all the time. And thanks for all that. For those of you who are listening and starting to think about, getting better at sailing, or perhaps getting your setup ready for the Hobart, remember, if you go to Radix Nutrition, you can get a discount and get some of their fantastic products. If you actually go on the website, you can see all these endorsements from people like the head of the Department of Performance Nutrition for high performance sport in New Zealand, from the strength and conditioning coach, Triathlon New Zealand CEO. There's all these endorsements about Radix Nutrition and what it means. You've got a whole range of different meals there, the breakfast, the meals, the proteins, the smoothies. There's even accessories you can jump on board. It's just a way of simplifying your nutrition. So if you go Radix Nutrition and use Bar Karate as a discount code, you get a discount on us, and go better and perform. But yeah, Hobart coming up, so maybe worth thinking about it and jumping on board for that. Events coming up, boys. Sail Paradise, Southport Yacht Club next week. It's a big one. We were supposed to be doing the commentary, but we are literally all spread around the world. We were going to do the first Bar Karate commentary team, but our mates from Down Under Sail are going to do the coverage, so you'll be able to get plenty of viewing from that. So that'll be a good one. So all the boats heading back down south after Hamo and early race week. Doing that. Any of you guys, none of you guys are going to be there. BP, you're overseas, and Dave A.
I'm overseas.
No keelboat action for me.
It's off the Gold Coast of Australia. For those who have never been to Australia, it's very much paradise, perfect conditions this time of year. No need for warm clothes. The Euros start for the 6 metres as of right now. So the Euros in the 6 metre class, which we love. They're underway, and also the Melges 24 Euros have just kicked off in Split in Croatia, which is a big one for them.
Lovely place to sail.
Yeah. And I know that the Melges 24 fleet in Croatia is just actually starting to build, so this is a big regatta for them, their first time hosting the Euros, so good luck to all the competitors on that. One thing that did pop into my mind, boys, during the week is that 10th of November, it's not far. The Vendée stuff.
Far away.
The Vendée. We go through all this, all the cup, the whole build up, and then boom, we go
straight into the Vendée.
How cool is this? It's going to be great. So very excited for that. Unless any of you guys got any contributions about the Vendée or things that you want to say?
More torture.
more lack of sleep. No, but the obviously they're all head down right now, finalising things. No doubt they're watching what's going on. But this is a huge year for a lot of people, and it's a huge turnout. So a full cap of 40 boats, and this is going to be it's the biggest one we've seen. So it's going to be awesome to see who trumps up.
Oh, can't wait. Cannot wait. And the boats are really being sailed well these days. They're in that sort of their late stage of this sort of evolution of the rule, and there's a lot of new boats.
It's incredible. It's to be honest, the money that's now involved in one of these boats, and now we've got potentially 20 or so new boats. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, absolutely. But can't wait. Very cool. The other thing that we've sort of got to think about, gentlemen, is that we're late into the month. We've got another week after this of the Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week, the Vycobi Listener of the Month competition, where we want to hear what your views are on the best America's Cup team, how you would change the Cup, how would you make it better, and that's still ongoing. So we've had a few good emails. What are you laughing about, BP?
I'm just rereading one that's going to come up in a minute, and it's just a rant, and I love it.
Just a rant, and I love it. All right. Well, I'll let you read that in a sec, because I'll just say the first one we got was from Fabian Haraldson, so good Swedish name there. He just wrote in and said, "Thanks for the epic podcasting. Thank you for saying that, bud. Don't mind the current format, but reaching starts are cooler, faster. Instead of a single traditional downwind finish line, there's 2 reaching finish lines past the downwind gate, making the boats go in separate directions. That's an idea. Anybody want to respond to that?
Repeat that again. What do you want to do?
So reaching starts,
Yeah.
but instead of having one finish line, the boats split at the gates and go to the opposite finish line. So there's 2 reaching finish lines that they can go to. So
I'm assuming the first person that gets to the bottom mark can choose which way to go, and the other has to go to the second one, meaning that there'd be an absolute advantage to get there first.
Yeah,
I mean,
Well,
just a flat-out drag race.
Flat-out drag race, forget it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah.
There is a sort of spin-off of that in the next ones coming off. So who are you reading? Are you reading...
I'm reading John Schaefer and it's all bullshit he says.
Okay. I'll read Chris Bolger out. So Chris has sent one in, and then it's like these two are having an argument without realising it. So Chris has written, how to improve the Cup. That's quite a question. Improve it for who? For most of its history, the Cup's been a prestigious challenge for the uber-rich, so the event and the rules have morphed to suit fancies of the very select few with enough cash to make a splash. Athletes and spectators have been a distant consideration. I'm in my mid-60s, so the Cup I grew up with had a brief dalliance of sailing in. It was an America's Cup that was influenced by post-World War II culture on the USA, a culture encouraging wild displays of wealth and encouraging a do-it-yourself approach. Maybe something like the current culture in Australia. This period produced the 12s and a surge in participation, giving a sense of what the Cup could look like with a broader base. Time passed, the culture pendulum swung, and the Cup went back to billionaires enjoying showing off. J-boats as day sailors, 100-foot races, 400-foot pleasure yachts, and crazy expensive America's Cup campaigns have been the fashion. For the last 3 decades, we are back to the billionaires making the Cup go, which means the event has been the subject of capricious whim. He writes well. At the same time, a quiet palace coup has been brewing. Over the last 25 years, the Cup's been taken over by the Kiwis and Aussies. Blake, Coots, Dalton have won every Cup for the last 25 years with and without billionaire support. Spithill, Ashby and now Slingsby have become major forces. For the last 25 years, Kiwi leaders and Aussie sailors have guided the event and slowly reshaped the Cup. It fits and starts towards something that could attract a commercial-sized audience. Give Ellison some credit. He won a couple of Cups in the old-fashioned way by deploying tons of lawyers and dough, but he seemed to wake up in Bermuda and want a fair regatta that could become commercially viable. Even without the Cup, he has pushed the event forward using SailGP. Today, the Cup is on the verge from being a hobby for billionaires to a real commercial sporting event. And while the billionaires' hobby has provided some great spectacles for those of us who love sailing, the Kiwis have proven that an event driven by commercial requirements can be much better for the majority of athletes and fans. So what changes would you want in the Cup? Love the 40s. I want it to be an annual event. I want more teams. I think nationality rules are silly in a pro event. And my real answer is I want no change. The event is a very delicate transition that will likely take another decade to complete. He's rooting for the Kiwis. He'd love to see Dalton and Coots team up. Jesus Christ, can you imagine that? But perhaps neither is good at sharing. Yes. So anyway, keep it as is, BP.
Well, I mean, John has sort of touched, John Schaefer, probably our world's number one listener, has touched on this in a sort of a same sort of way. The opening comment is, it's all bullshit. And that makes me laugh because as long as the richest people in the world are the ones racing for the Cup, let's call it the Who's Got the Biggest Johnson contest. We're in for a wild ride. Imagine shelling out $350 million just to find your boat slower than a turtle on a treadmill. Bravo, billionaire, bravo. Love them or hate him, the rich folks have created an exclusive playground for themselves, like a yacht club that requires a net worth higher than most countries' GDPs. Blah, blah, blah. It goes on to talk about how rich people are the only ones really playing this game. Let's get real. The deed of gift, more like the deed of gentrification. The whole point was to inspire countries to compete, not for one ultra-wealthy dude to flex his muscles and hire a crew of sailors who are not even members of the club they're competing for. So he goes on to sort of say what he would change. Cap the budget, number one. How about a $10 million cap per year? That's just enough fund a solid team and maybe buy a couple of those fancy sandwiches they serve in yacht clubs. National competitions. Every country should hold their own international cup competition. This way, any yacht club can send a team, and the grassroots efforts can fund the cup through sponsorships. Think the local Sailors Cup, sponsored by the local brewery pub. One design boats. Let's standardise the boats. Just give everyone the same boat and let the sailors do the talking. Well, we're sort of in AC40 realms there, aren't we? In essence. It just goes on to talk about how it becomes a monopoly of the rich person, and I'm not really going to go onto the whole rest of it. But sailing is supposed to be accessible for everyone. And again, his closing comment: it's all bullshit. So it opens with it's all bullshit, and closes with it's all bullshit. There's points to be made, plus and minus, on both those emails.
Yeah,
it's still a technological game, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, 100%.
The design, the engineering that's come out of this is mind-boggling.
Yeah,
and we touched on this the other week, Dave. That if you could rewind the clock 150 years or so, the same thing would have been said when the triangle sail came out. The square riggers guys would have been just fuming. What's this? What's this thing? It can't take on. It won't trigger. It won't trickle down. Brass winches. Going away from bloody clevis pins and whatever they used to use, the bloody to lock the sheets off.
I wonder. Much as I hate to say it, I wonder if the next big development is AI.
Yeah, well, I don't want to know about that. Let's not even think about it.
Well, isn't it there already?
Kind of.
It is.
The LiDAR looking at the breeze, and have the cut boats got that? Have they got that on board?
Yeah,
Traveller's moving a lot, isn't
it? Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of button pushing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well.
All right.
It won't.
Kobe, Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. It's a big one, isn't it?
It is a big one. So you've still got another week to put in your ideas. I think at the moment the whole idea, I think we're all sort of congregating around a smaller boat, 50-foot boat, but these boats have been cool. And, let's continue.
No question the boats have been cool, but every email is literally saying the same thing.
Oh.
Every email. Let's just be hot on that.
Well,
not because it's got nothing to do with what we want. It's just what everyone's saying.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. We'll move on.
Yeah.
It's hot time with Bice.
No, it's not.
It's not hot time with Bice.
Hot time with Dave.
Hot time with Dave,
I don't get to hear the music, so I don't know what you're queuing.
Yeah, Dave, it's the sun.
Neither do I, mate. Neither do I. I just watched Jay's head bob.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason it doesn't.
Epileptic fit or something.
Yeah, the music used to come through, but I haven't worked out what's going on. It stopped. People haven't been able to see it for a while, hear it for a while, so I'm not quite sure. I do want to mention the offshore sailing double-handed world champs is what I do want to mention. So I'll step in the Bice role. Anyone? Are you across this, BP? You probably haven't had time to look.
Mate, I haven't had time to catch up with any of this, but it was no doubt an awesome event.
It's still going. Dave, are you aware of any of this at all?
No, I'm not even aware of it.
Okay, so 22. No, it started out with 22 nations. It's in one design, 30 footers. Not as flash as BP's X2, but there's one. I can see BP just chewing away there. So it's in one design, 22 nations, and they do these offshore races, and it's a process of elimination, and they're down to the final 5 teams. And in those final 5 teams, they race off now to decide the overall winners. So France has got a team in. Sweden, Netherlands, Germany and Turkey are the final 5 teams, and they go tomorrow, I think. So start Monday and do an offshore race, and or Sunday. In Europe, they start today. So anyway, those final 5 teams race, and that's it. The world champion is decided. So that's
how long are the offshore legs?
It's I think the last qualifying one was like 90 miles, something like that. So not huge in terms of size, but yeah, a one-dayer sort of thing. Or
Lincoln race.
Yeah. So that's been going on, and if you're into that, I'm finding it really hard to. There is a tracker if you go to Lorient Grand Large. I think you'll find it. Believe it or not, you have to go and hunt into that sort of space to find the tracker or anything. But yeah, it is underway. The other event of interest is the TP52s. In Valencia. Has anyone been able to see what's been going on with that?
Been looking at this. It's it's been taken out. Run and won. Quantum Racing. So big win.
Yeah. That's the overall. So
yeah.
What you've jumped on by 1 point. So that's the whole series because obviously the TP 52s run a super series. So the event in Valencia was won by Platoon, followed by Prevets and Phoenix. But as BP said, Quantum had the win for the series and won by 1 point. So it is quite a big deal. So
you can edit the comment out, but will that get rebranded with a different round label?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but yeah, that doesn't need to be edited. There's no issue with that.
It scratches an itch. It scratches an itch, though, Dave.
Yes, it definitely does.
What's your brand, Dave? If people wanted to buy, get the quality Dave A love, what do they look up?
Alexander Sales.
Yeah.
But I'm not very good at advertising. I've let my website fall over and lapse, and I just let people contact me. It seems to work so far.
And how should they contact you, Dave? Because you make some beautiful sales and you put a lot of thought into it.
Possibly through Facebook Messenger if you're overseas is the easiest. And
there you
go. And then communicate with email after that.
So Alexander Sales Facebook page?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Thought we'd better give you a plug, mate, seeing, you've given this time on a Sunday for us. The other thing I do want to mention, there's a couple of things. The Swiss offshore sailing team being announced. Have you caught up on that, BP? No.
Negative.
Negatory. It's a big announcement. So Elodie Matreau, Simon Costa and Alan Rower have decided to put this together. So it's taken the IMOCA 60 and they're trying to bring up some youngsters if you're in the Swiss world, if you're in Switzerland and you're a sailor and you want to go offshore, you can reach out to them. They're going to utilise the ocean race. So, you've got Ocean Race Europe coming up next year and then the ocean race in 2027. And they're trying to build a Swiss offshore sailing team and they're looking for youngsters, but they're also looking for sponsorship, of course. That's important. But, yeah, that is a big one. We have a pretty good...
It must be hard for them to get offshore experience in a landlocked nation.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the reasons we mentioned it. But I just thought, we'll give them a little plug because why not? Cool boats. So I think Alan will be doing the Vendée in the Hugh block.
Yes.
Yes. And from that, if you are Swiss and you're listening in, and there's a few of you, plenty of good sailors come out of that nation. As Dave said, it's hard to go offshore from little Switzerland, so there is a chance with this team, and if you want to be involved, just reach out to them. And then the final thing I sort of probably have got to mention, Dave, you're a perfect candidate for one of our hoodies, mate. I don't know the hoodies, Barcarati hoodies. We've got in the new olive green camouflage. It's not camouflage, but it could be. Available. So you just jump on Barcarati, the website, so barcarati.com. And
typing as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've just got an order, actually. And then we're still we're just trying to get the right logo for the sun shirts, but that will be with our friends at Vycobi, and you'll be able to get them forever and always. So the Barkarati, the special performance version of Vycobi is what we're calling it, I think. But yeah, that was it. I just wanted to mention those things. Anything else we need to say?
No.
Upcoming events. We've got VX state titles in SA and New South Wales, and Christmas at Royal Prince Alfred.
What a good one
for the Nationals! Wow, mid-January.
Yes.
So three good events coming up.
They're a great little boat, aren't they? The VX.
Yes, I love sailing them. They're an awesome combination of a skiff and a sports boat. And the competition in them is just awesome.
They're fantastic.
Tight, close, tactical.
Yep. Fantastic little boats. Absolutely spot on little boats, I reckon. They're like the 505 of that sort of size boat.
Always refers to the 50.
Just got it right. Well, Dave will say 14, you watch.
No. Well, I compare them to the 14. They're quite a similar animal.
Yeah.
With the asymmetric kite and the downhill.
Yeah.
But,
Very good. We're looking forward to that.
Cool. All right, Dave-O, thanks for joining us, bud. It's been great fun to chat.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Brett.
No worries, mate. Have a lovely evening.
Yes, it's still morning here, mate.
Have a good evening, BP. Go and have a beer.
I never know. Righto. Cheers, then.
And thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, if you do want to jump on board and give us your contributions for the Listener of the Month from Vycobi, cheers@barkarati.com is the best way to reach out to us. If you do want to enhance your performance, Radix Nutrition, just go to the website, use the code BARKARATI and get a discount on us. Have a great week. Thanks for listening, and speak to you next week. We're going to take you on board one of the cup boats. We may or may not be able to go right on board.
Well, that'll be good fun.
Awesome.
Cheers all.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Timed it perfectly for the outro. Right to the end. Boom.